Chapter 6 of the Curatage Ghost. Judy was first back from the doctor's and heard the commotion in the cellar. She realised instinctively that there had been a foray into the tunnel and that all was not well. Part of her wanted to be cross. Part of her was curious, and part wanted to be supportive in whatever crisis had arisen. She was, as they say, conflicted. The children were at the not quite crying, not quite laughing, almost hysterical, we have survived an adventure phase. It took a while to get the story out. Bones and skulls? It sounds a bit like the catacombs in Rome. She scrunched up her own courage. Come on then, one of you, show me. I think I can squeeze down there. More than Grandad can, she giggled. Luca was doing his best to be brave and volunteered to lead the way, warning about the slippiness and the missing step. Amelie handed her torch over and down they went, Luca leading the way. It was more of a squeeze than Judy would have liked to admit, but they were soon down to the tunnel. There were bones and skulls all over the path. Luca moved up to the wall and shone his new torch on it. He stifled a cry. There was about 20 feet in length of piled up skulls and bones, only a small proportion of which had fallen down. Grandma Judy was genuinely fascinated and stared at the grisly array. They certainly looked like they'd been there for a long time. Something glinted amongst the bones. She peered closer. There was something twinkly lying just inside the jawbone of the nearby skull. She reached for it and gently picked up the object. It was a beautiful locket with a closed little door surrounded by pearls and precious stones. It was about 2.5 inches by 1.5 inches and quite thick. Judy tucked it into her jeans pocket. I think that's far enough for now, young explorers. I think we'd better get back. Luca, whose courage had returned, was reluctant, but didn't wish to be amongst the bones all on his own, so he followed, calling Judy back to see the strange old door. She tried the lock as well. I wish we had the key. When they were safely back in the breakfast room, Judy pulled the locket out and started to inspect it. They all crowded round to look. It was so beautiful. Ornate gold work, clear enamel set with what appeared to be red rubies, green emeralds, and white translucent pearls. There was a circular protuberance on the front that looked like it might open. On the back was an inlaid picture of a black lady surrounded by flowers. On each side, a little cupid with bow and arrow aiming at the centre. Looks like a love token, Judy murmured. Her fingers found a catch. There was a tiny click and the locket opened to reveal a picture of a long-haired, mustachioed man with a white collar. Esme peered at the picture and cried delightedly, "It's him! It's him! It's the ghost! It is! It is!" Amelie squinted hard and nodded. A little shiver went down her spine. Esme was correct. It was who she had seen. I think Esme's right. It does look like the face in the mirror. Gosh, our very own ghost. She trailed off. "Who you think does not exist," added Esme, a trifle unhelpfully. Yaya was first to spot that the lid of the locket also had a picture on it. A beautiful young blonde woman this time, with an Elizabethan-style hairdo, piercing eyes, and a slight smile on her red lips, and a magnificent circular ruff round her neck. Must be his wife. Or his girlfriend, wondered Judy. Or his mistress, mused Grandad. Perhaps this is what the ghost is looking for, thought Luca, so if we leave it out, he will find it and leave us alone. Yaya doubted this plan. If Granny Judy found it that easily, and he's just had 500 years to do the same thing, I somehow don't think it's as simple as that. Put that way, everyone sort of agreed. When I saw him, he looked frightened to me. It can't have been me scaring him, so it must be something else. If we find that out, we might be able to help him, said Esme. Help him? Why should we help him? Was Luca's contribution. Amelie answered. Can you imagine being frightened for 500 years? How awful is that? We must try to help him. After all, he lives here too. Grandad seemed lost in his own little world. He was by now turning the locket over and over in his hand. I wonder who he was. Luca, get me a magnifying glass from my desk. Luca did. Grandad scrutinised the locket even more closely. The bottom of his picture was some initials. They were too small to read clearly, even with the lens. I have a jeweller friend who might know more about this. I shall take it to him. This provoked a lively discussion, secrecy and confidentiality being the main theme. Grandad was convinced his jeweller friend would be discreet, and he only lived a few miles away in Wareham, so off he went, Judy staying behind to prevent any more unscheduled excursions. Grandad was back in an hour, looking mildly excited. The locket was now in a neat little black jeweller's bag. Everyone was very expectant. Grandad got the locket out with a flourish and laid it on the dining room table just in front of the cellar. There was a dramatic pause. Oh, for heaven's sake, get on with it, said Judy, nicely encapsulating everyone else's exasperation. Well, said Grandad with further pause for effect, this locket belonged to Sir Maximilian Dulapole. There was a rustle from the cellar, a movement, a slight breeze out of nowhere, the faintest of sighs that everyone heard. Grandad looked around. Hello, sir. Welcome. We have your locket, but are only caring for it. We recognise it as yours, and you may take it back at any time. The locket spun on the table and opened spontaneously. Everyone held their breath. No one screamed, weird though it was. No one was actually terrified, nervous, a little apprehensive, but not actually frightened. The lady's face glowed momentarily. Was that a stifled sob? Then a chair fell over and the cellar door slammed shut. No one moved or said anything for a minute or more. Then in the silence was the sound of a metal object falling in the breakfast room. Yaya was first into the inglenook. The leprechaun had fallen and seemed to be holding a very large old key. They all knew which door that was for. End of chapter 6. Bye.